Hi guys, Fuzzy here. I decided to make a quick deck tech of one of my favorite decks in the game, Dimension Shift Runecrafts. Um, it's not an easy deck to play, it's also not super hard to play. It's a lot of fun once you get the hang of it. This was my first deck on the game. Okay, it was a bit more budget, but now I went to full Monty and got the missing pieces. Uh, wait a second. Is this Daria? It looks like her. There's no witch hat, but I think this is the same weapon. Same kind of clothes. Hang on, guys. I gotta check this out. Is that Daria? I think that's her. Okay, if you take out the witch hat, the weapon's the same. The clothes are kind of the same. Yeah, that's definitely Daria. Well, I didn't know, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't notice that until now. Moving on to the deck tech then. Um, let's start here with an Angelic Snipe. Just one cost, deals one damage to an enemy, follower or face. It's mostly here to get rid of early threats like in Swordcraft, those 1/1s, uh, bats from Bloodcraft, stuff like that. Also very good because it's so cheap and it just spell boosts a lot of our other cards. This deck works mostly around spell boost, so you will see. Okay, our main cards and what makes us win the game is Dimension Shift, mostly, and Flame Destroyer. These two junction together make you win the game in one turn. Well, not really one turn, but you get multiple turns instead of passing to your opponent. So in over 2-3 turns, using Dimension Shift and Destroyer plus maybe another minion you already have in play when you do the combo, that's game. You can deal 20 more damage in a couple turns without passing to your opponent. So after Angelic Snipe, well, we have Insight, a staple in a lot of Runecraft decks. One, draw cards, spell boosts everything else. Levi here. 242. When you evolve him, you get a Crimson Sorcery, which costs 1, and it does 3 damage to an enemy. Next, we have Magic Missile. For 2 mana, you deal 1 damage to an enemy and draw cards. So, a lot of these cards will make you draw cards. So, you always want to draw cards. So, you have it's a control deck, so you have more removal, more access to spells, etc. Plus, by always drawing, it ensures you have stuff to do and you keep spell boosting till you get, because Dimension Shift costs 18. You have to spell boost a lot until you can use it. Moving on, for besides all the direct damage spells that draw cards, just there are cards that just draw cards for you, but mostly do something and also draw you a card. So you always have resource to go on. This deck is mostly just removal, a utility, and draw cards. That that alone makes you reach Dimension Shift, Flame Destroyer combo. Just control the boards, draw cards, keep doing that until you get in that position where you can use these. Following up Wind Blast, 2 mana, deal 1 damage to an enemy follower. However, if you spell boost, it deals always 1 more. So a lot of times you will just have Wind Blast in your hand, play your game, Magic Missile this, Insight, and when you need to cast Wind Blast, he will deal 4 plus. I've had games he deals 9, 11 sometimes. Moving on to Kaleidoscopic Glow. 2 mana, you return a card that costs 2 play points or less to the player's hands, and you also draw cards. So this is a tempo card. He plays early threats, you return them, you bounce them back to his hands, and also draw cards. So it makes you not take damage and also draw your cards. Moving on to Sorcery Cache, or Cash, whatever, however it's said. My English is not the best though, but I think you guys understand enough. For 3, spell boost a card in your hand 2 times, and you also draw a card. So Sorcery Cache works very well. Mostly you will cast it on Dimension Shift if you already have it in your hands. Besides that, you can occasionally cast Sorcery Cache in maybe a Fire Chain. If you really need AoE removal, you cast it on Fiery Chain. Maybe cast it on a Flame Destroyer if you really need it, or a Fiery Embrace if you're really aching for faster removal and you don't have it in hand. Very good card in this deck, obviously, because it spell boosts 2 times. Moving on to Merlin. 4 mana, 3/2. When she comes into play, you put a random spell with spell boost from your deck into your hand. So it fetches spells that have spell boost. It could be Fire Chains, it could be Fire Embrace, it could be Dimension Shifts, Wind Blasts. Overall, very good cards in this deck. Whenever you evolve her, she will fetch you another spell with spell boost from your deck into your hands. Whenever she attacks, you spell boost all the cards in your hand. So she's perfect on this deck. Probably the best deck she can fit in at the moment. Moving on to Fire Chain. 4 mana, it deals 1 damage to random enemy follower 1 time. Spell boost repeats once more. So you have Fire Chain in hands, do your game, remove stuff, draw, bounce followers back to his hands, and whenever you need to play Fire Chain, it will probably already deal 5, 6, maybe clear 2, 3 creatures out of his board. I'm only running 1 because I think it's enough. We have a lot of single target removal already and utility. Piercing Rune. 4 mana, deals 2 damage to an enemy follower, then deals 2 damage to... No, deals 2 damage to an enemy follower. That's right, that's correct. Then deals 2 damage to the enemy leader. However, if you have evolved, maybe a Merlin, maybe a Levi, if you evolve one of them and you have Piercing Rune in your hand, it will only cost 1 and do exactly the same thing. I'm only running 1 also, because I think all the other cards are more important with the synergy of this combo deck. It's a control combo deck, so you just control the board until you can combo and win the game. They can't do nothing. Once you start your combo, it's over. Moving on to Fate's Hand. 5 mana, draw 2 cards. Whenever you cast something, you spell boost Fate's Hand. So a lot of times you will cast Fate's Hand only costing 2, 1, even 0 sometimes, and get more cards. You always need more cards, because a lot of times you don't have both combo pieces or 2 or 3 combo pieces in your hand. That's why there's so much draw in this deck. Draw for removal, draw for combo pieces, keep drawing whenever there's no immediate threat on the other side. Draw, draw, draw. Moving on to Fiery Embrace. 8 mana, destroy an enemy follower. That's it. Spell boost, subtracts 1 from its cost. So same thing. A lot of times you will cast Fiery Embrace for maybe 4 mana, 2 mana, even 0. I've had it cast 0 mana a lot of times. Moving on to Flame Destroyer, our main finisher. 10 mana, it's a 7/7. Whenever you cast a spell, that means spell boost. Whenever you spell boost, subtracts 1 from the cost of Flame Destroyer. So you guys can already see You just play a regular game, keep controlling the board, and it comes to a point where you will have Flame Destroyer and a Dimension Shift or two in your hand, or two Flame Destroyers, one Dimension Shift, vice versa, maybe two Dimension Shifts, two Flame Destroyers. As long as you can still control and have other cards in your hand, you just do your game. Control, control, draw, and it will come to a point where you will be casting one or two Flame Destroyers, maybe costing one costs 0 or 1 and the other costs 3. What you want to do is, whenever you place Flame Destroyer in play, ensure that on the same turn you will have enough mana to cast Dimension Shift. Or if even better, if you can get two Flame Destroyers in play and still have mana to cast Dimension Shift, that's ideally what you want to do, especially if you have two Dimension Shifts in your hand. Because they will come into play, you will Dimension Shift, pass the turn, turn comes back to you, then you can attack with the minions you just put on your board. That means 7 damage if you have one. If you have two, that's already 14 damage, plus maybe a Levi or something that's cheaper to cast if you didn't spell boost enough. Put those in play, Dimension Shift, pass the turn, turn comes back to you, attack, cast your second Dimension Shift, and attack again, pass the turn, attack again, win the game. It's as easy as that. I love this deck, guys. I've played Magic the Gathering for around 16 years, and then I stopped because the game was getting too expensive. Our local group played a format that's called Legacy, that uses a lot of old cards from old sets in Magic, and it was getting just too costly to keep in the hobby. I had one deck, but eventually you want to craft another deck, not to play always with the same deck. But sometimes only one card can cost you $100 or more. It depends. So I stopped playing Magic, but this deck is the deck in Shadowverse that most reminds me of control decks in Magic the Gathering. Okay, you have Havencraft with Seraph control, etc. But in Havencraft, you place your threats on board. So you place a Seraph, they know what's coming. They know, oh, he has a Seraph, he's gonna win soon if I don't hurry up. A Seraph, you have your amulets, he will kind of know what's coming for him, what's in store for him. Well, you can always argue, oh, we have a Hallowed Dogma and maybe Surprise do something. Yes, you can, of course. That's why Hallowed Dogma is so good, besides drawing you a card. But in this deck, everything you cast, it will be from hand. It will be a surprise. So it's just like a Magic the Gathering control deck. You control the board, fling cards from your hand, destroy this, bounce that, manipulate this, until it comes a point in the game where you just lay your win condition and win, and they can't do nothing about it. In Magic the Gathering control decks usually work like that. So this is the most similar to a Magic control deck in Shadowverse. That's why I love it so much. It's very strong deck right now. It's a very strong deck because a lot of aggro decks were in the meta, and a lot of people are shifting towards more control-y, mid-rangey decks to fight a lot of aggro decks in the meta. Metas, yeah. So if you play control now, you will be great against mid-range decks, and with this deck specifically, it will be awesome against other control decks. So I really love this deck. I watch a lot of YouTubers. I watch a lot of Shadowverse videos. And recently, this YouTuber named Tony Wang, which I started watching when I started playing this game around the beginning of the year, just made a montage of replays of this deck, Dimension Shift Runecraft. and it just reminded me of how awesome and fun this deck can be to play. Um, Check him out. He's definitely cool. He has a lot of nice videos. I learned a lot of stuff with him. Check him out, Tony Wang. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this deck tech. Subscribe, comment. Let me know if I'm using more of like the old school list of Dimension Shift Runecraft. I maybe made a spinner. I added Piercing Rune. I don't know if they're using it now. They're probably going with stuff like Oglers and I've seen people use this deck with Daria. The reason I don't really like Daria in this deck, well, I don't know for sure, but I haven't tried her in this deck yet. But the reason I don't like her in this deck is if you have a Dimension Shift, you already spell boosted a couple times in your hands. You don't want to play Daria because your Dimension Shift, all the trouble you had spell boosting your hands will be gone. Sure, you might get a new Dimension Shift and spell boosted 5 times with Daria, but you might also not get that, so it's kind of risky. I don't know. Well, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Rock on. Take care.